Welcome to the second part of the episode 2 of Tuldukan Natin, Tagos sa Puso, with the CEO and founder of Sinaya Cup, Ma'am Audrey Tangonan.
Tsaka ayun, parang pag napkin din kasi may times na syempre may friction. So magkakause din siya ng mga minsan yung iba nagkaka-rashes or parang nagkaka-infection dun sa private area nila. Pero when it comes to Sinaya Cup, may mga ganun, may mga health risk po ba or wala?
Well, that's an excellent question. As with any hygiene product, there's always pros and cons to it. So for sure, napkins, tampons, all the other menstruation products, meron yung pros and cons. So as you mentioned with napkins, even though it is a cotton, di ba? Parang, breathable, absorbent, ganyan. Ang mga commercial with napkins. The thing is, kung maganda yung mention mo with the friction, it's still plastic, right? Especially if you're using those with wings. It still has those rough edges when it folds and all that. And also, the way that napkins work is you wait for the menstrual fluid to come out, and then the napkin absorbs the menstrual fluid. So the thing is, it has to come out first, and it has to be in contact with your skin, and that's why you get possibly rashes. Because yes, the napkin does absorb it eventually through gravity, right? Pero it still has to be spread, or it still gets in contact with your skin, and there's a lot of other factors, right? Even if they do say it's breathable, it's still plastic, so it's still kulob, right?
Ilang hours na nakababad yun.
Exactly. Even after ma-absorb siya, TMI, even after ma-absorb siya, diba? That's still mix if your napkin is breathable, but the thing is, fluid is not that breathable. Diba? So, pag puno na yun, hindi na siya.
So, nakaka-relate yung pawis.
Yung pawis, exactly. Because when you wear it in your genital region, that is skin, right? And if you wear, ba't hindi tayo nagsusuot ng t-shirt gawa sa plastic? I mean, maybe may ganong fashion. Pero, usually we don't. Right? Mga jacket lang, mga ulan. Kasi, mainit siya. And we're in a very humid country. So, pawis talaga. Pawis galore. And that does have a risk factor. I mean, of course, hindi naman lahat ng women nakaka-experience ng rashes. But, it's very, very common. Not just rashes, blisters, even let's say, yung ingrown hair, because, diba, may pubic hair, normally, ingrown hair. So, kahit sabihin mong, yes, napkins do absorb the fluid, pero it's not really a clean experience. Lalabas mo na siya, per men, lalabas mo na siya, and then ma-absorb. Yeah. So, yeah. And with cups kasi, so menstrual cups, iba kasi siya with the use of napkins. So, ang napkins, we put it on the underwear, and then that's how it absorbs it. So, as I've said, diba, hihintay natin lumabas yung period fluid, and then i-collect nga. Similar to diapers, right? With cups, so it is inserted into our vaginal canal, where it collects the period fluid as it's surrounded by our muscles. So, the benefit of that is, well, first of all, I know a lot of people are shocked with how it's used. But the benefit of that is, since it's not in contact with the skin, so yung mga na-mention mo, with the rashes, yung na-mention natin with breathability of the skin, it eliminates yung mga inconveniences from the usage. Kasi it is nestled firmly, snugly inside the body. So I think a lot of people have misconceptions with menstrual cups. Kasi since it is internally worn, a lot of people think na it stops the bleeding. Parang it plugs the, I don't know, may sugat daw. That's how they taught us before in high school, that menstruations daw are sugat na hindi nag-heal. I don't understand it. But anyway, so that's not actually how it works. Because the bleeding, the shedding, it actually happens sa ating uterus. So, it's not like a wound per se na sinusugatan tayo dun sa part na yun every month. But it's just like shedding it. And when we insert it, hindi naman sobrang inside our body, but just like near the opening of our, well, in our vaginal canal, it doesn't stop the bleeding. It just collects the fluid in a different place. So, diba, napkins sa labas, yung sa menstrual cup, dun lang, sa may opening naman, pero sa loob pa din. So, it's less messy.
So, ano po yung masasabi niyo dun? Since we're talking about misconceptions, isa sa mga misconceptions is yung sa virginity, yung sa menstrual cup na parang sinasabi nila na parang pag gumamit ka daw na hindi ka na virgin, gano'n. So, ano po yung...
Okay, I think I have a follow-up question before I answer that question. Like, what is virginity anyway?
Sabi po nila yung parang yung hymen daw.
Hymen.
So, yun daw po yung basehan. So, ayun. Kaya din yung iba, yung parang against sila sa mga girls na nagbabay, saying ganyan. Kasi, ayun daw, parang yun yung basehan nila ng virgin.
Actually, thank you for that definition. So, in terms of the question that we do always get asked, can virgins use it or nadi-virginize ba pag gumagamit ng menstrual cups or the Sinaya Cup? And our short answer with that is no. But that is if you define virginity as a person who has never had sexual experience, right? Or sexual intercourse. So, kung strictly in that sense, since a menstrual cup is not a, supposedly, it's not a sexual object, it's not a toy, it's not a sex device, we would consider it as not a sexual experience. It is a health product, right? So, parang to contextualize that, let's say there are young girls who have, let's say, health issues sa kanilang cervix, sa kanilang vaginal canal, like mattress, right? And if they go to the doctor and, well, the doctor, let's say, has to insert devices to check their health, would we say that that girl, young girl who went to the doctor and the doctor inserted devices into her body to check, is that a sexual experience? And that could be very subjective, but in the technical sense, it's not, right? Because like the doctor is doing that for the main purpose of health. So in terms of using cups, the main purpose is to manage the menstrual fluid that comes from there anyway. So it is a health object. So the short answer is no. Pero follow up then with like the how people define virginity, which is the hymen. So if there are people who have like very, very strict beliefs that my virginity is based on the hymen, then in that case, it is possible na magkaroon ng tears sa hymen using menstrual cups. But, lagi may but, the thing is, it's not a very good definition of virginity, since there's like a lot of misconceptions about what the hymen is and what it is for. Because there are women who are born without hymens. There are parang siyang different body parts, right? Sometimes the hymen could be thicker, sometimes the hymen could be thin. So sometimes like even like activities, horseback riding, biking, depende sa gala, like gymnast ka. Even some movements can tear the hymen. But the thing is, it is a thin film of tissue. It could heal, or it could like thicken, or it could just like naturally shed away if you have like very heavy periods, or if you do have like a lot of consultation. So technically, hymens are random. You can kind of think of it that way because there was a study, so segue lang na. There was a study in I think US that they had like a survey of people who had sexual experiences, and they always ask, diba, like yun yung isa pang taboo na supposedly daw to check if you are still a virgin, like first time dapat on your wedding day or something. There should be blood. But the thing is, that is a big myth. Because, yun nga, as we're talking about the health aspect, hymens, like, sometimes it will tear, sometimes it won't. It's like, there's many factors. If they have, like, thicker hymens, or if they have thinner hymens, like, maybe if their partners with body parts are bigger, or smaller, or thinner, or, like, skinnier, like, it could tear, or it could just stretch, or it could, like, it could actually, like, bleed, as they say. But the thing is, it's not an accurate representation of anything because there's so many factors, diba? If you're a tampon user, which is another type of menstrual product, pwede ding ma-tear away yon. So, for us, we really do advocate kind of just like disregarding that age-old concept na you can check if women are virgins or not. Because technically you can't. But, you know, the conversation of that is like so lengthy in terms of why do we have this concept anyway? How did it start? It's a long, long conversation. But, just like moving forward, I think we should have that conversation na that's actually a myth. If you hear that, if you like have like drunk conversation, boy talk na parang things like that, you will step in. That's actually it's actually a myth. It's actually not true.
Ano po, actually, personally, hindi po ako gumagamit right now ng menstrual cup kasi nga po, natatakot ako kasi baka mamaya, parang maging messy siya, gano'n. Kasi medyo clumsy po akong tao. Gano'n. Pati, parang nakaka-intimidate din kasi nga, parang bagong product siya, gano'n. Tapos, ayun. So, ano po yung ma-advise nyo? And, ayun, parang siguro quick tutorial lang din kung paano siya ginagamit para dun sa mga still scared, ganyan. Kasi baka may di lang pala nila alam paano gamitin, gano'n.
As well as ano rin pala po, yung kung meron pa po kayong like other products like in-aid din ng Sinaya.
Okay. So, yun yung other side of the conversation nga about menstrual cups. Paano nga ba siya gamitin as you mentioned. So, with that, yung number one tip po with like first time users or people who are considering using menstrual cups is to always find someone like your friends or people you know who already use the cup. Since I think this is really what I do like about the concept of Sinaya Cup and menstrual cups is it really is a community effort, right? Like most of our Sinaya Cup users, they do switch because it was recommended and it was encouraged by another friend, a family, and a few times, even it was their boyfriends or husbands who recommended the Sinaya Cup.
Hanap na siya ng girlfriend na mararecommend.
Diba? And I think that's a really, really good starting point since it puts a face to the users. And you can also ask somebody na you trust. Of course, we're open to it like on our social media. We have our own like support hotline and like our social media pages, our chats are very, very responsive. Pero kasi yung iba, they prefer na it's like with a friend that they use the cup. So, I think that's like a tip. And of course, hindi naman to parating kailangan. Kasi when I did start using menstrual cups, I didn't know anybody who used cups before. I was just like curious on my own when I tried it. So I think the next tip that I do have, and syempre medyo plug na din, is to really get a menstrual cup first. Because it parang haunts you. It haunts you pag nabili mo na. But the thing is, a lot of our customers, they do say na excited na sila magkaroon ng period when they get their cup. Because they're curious, diba? Parang, I guess, see it in terms of that curiosity. Because that's how I started. That's how a lot of our users did start. They're curious. Ano ba yan? Sige na nga, akin na. Ganun. So maybe like view it in a way of curiosity. Because if you start using it, let's say it doesn't work, which it does like have some percentage of women na hirap talaga to use cups. So that's valid din naman. Kind of really view it as, let's just try, let's just see. So that's another recommendation. Just go with it with the eyes of curiosity. And maybe the third tip that I would of course recommend is through education, like reading about the cup, like the benefits, really focusing on the benefits, because as I mentioned, there's like at least 20 benefits of using cups, not just for your own sanity, but also for the environment, diba? And syempre also for breaking taboos, because if you're a cup user, of course you would know a lot more about your body. You get to share those knowledge that you learned through your own journey of using the cup. Kasi tama naman yung mga na-mention mo na parang nakakatakot. Ay, paano ba yan? Paano ba to? So those are valid questions, but once you get the answer, it's very empowering because I didn't know before, and now I know, right?
So you never know what to do.
You never know until you know. So parang, yeah, just like research, focus more on the benefits if it's really daunting. But also, maybe just like the fourth tip could be just try it, because like for me personally, I do think na if I had an option, like way before when I was younger, when I was first having my periods, siguro hindi yung first, like high school, I really do wish na if I could go back in time, mag-switch na ako yung cups back then, because the difference really is night and day sa experience. And the thing is, using cups, when we talk about it, like how to use, ang daming conversation, ganito, ganyan pala, tapos paano ganyan, diba? There's a lot of questions all the time. But the thing is, once you do know those things, it's so simple. It takes like maybe a minute, you just use it, put it in, and then wala na. Tapos na. Parang all of those conversations about the fears, meron talaga yun at the start. But the thing is, the benefits are really worth it.
Yung part pa lang na pwede mag-swimming,
Yeah, pwede na. No?
Hindi
Pwede
na
na
limited sa
mag-outing.
activities
Yeah.
din, no?
Actually, we do have like a lot of users who do switch specifically dahil may trip and they use like the cup. So, I mean, that's a good thing. Pero yes, even like activities din like sports, like biking, there's a lot of like athletes nga who use cups then. So, it really solves a lot. Not all. I mean, we still have like the hormonal fluctuations that come with periods. You still have like, if you have PCOS, it doesn't, dysmenorrhea, it doesn't like really solve all of the menstrual problems because there's so much more than napkins and menstrual cups that go into menstrual cycle, women's cycle. Na, ang dami na natin iniisip. There's this really, really good product. Let's just like get that out of the way. There's still more. Like hormonal acne, yung fluctuations and all that. So, it does simplify life. But it does start complicated at first.
So, ayun nga po, nakita rin po ito pala namin sa website niyo po yung about sa capacity caravan. Can you elaborate it more po kahit a few words about that?
Okay, so as we've been discussing for a few minutes na, there's so much education, there's so many questions, there's so many tutorials needed in terms of menstrual health. And we believe at Sinaya Cup that it is better if we have menstrual cups as the primary period hygiene product that we use in our country because, as we mentioned, we have like very, very good natural resources. We're very, very prone to calamities and all that. Sinaya Cup is the perfect product in terms of meeting the needs of women with regards to that. But the thing is, using menstrual cups leave a lot of questions, a lot of apprehensions, and that exposes the gaps that we have with how we understand our own bodies, right? Because like university students, like I graduated college then, there's so many things about my own body that I only really realized and found out about while I'm in the process of knowing about cups and after I used cups. So for us, there is really a huge educational component before we reach the dream that all Filipinas use menstrual cups instead of disposable pads. So the reason that we made our capacity caravan program, so it is a 4-session program that we've designed. This is like a face-to-face experiential program that is geared towards high school students. And part of our proceeds, every time you support our company, our organization, goes to our capacity caravan programs, which could be part of our initial 4-session programs. But we also do like one-off sessions just to introduce the concept of menstrual cups, but also all of the very vital menstrual health knowledge that every woman and menstruating person should have. So it is part of our mission as we spread the use of menstrual cups is to also integrate that with reproductive health topics and always gearing it towards the younger generation because everybody should know at least the basics of these topics. But with younger girls, they are the ones who will still have like 30 to 40 years of their periods. So it's really like the optimal time for them to be more aware of these topics. I mean, it's not too late for women in their 40s and their 30s and their 20s to also know about these things. But our Buy One Teach One program and our Capacity Caravan really integrates our operations in terms of our educational missions.
So moving on sa next topic is how menstrual health empowers women. So ayun. So sa tingin niyo po ba paano to nakaka-help na for women to be ayun, parang less ashamed, mas maging open sila sa mga ganitong conversation.
Yes. So we do view our brand as a women empowerment brand. Women empowerment, there's so many facets to it, right? But we're just, of course, mainly focusing on reproductive health and menstrual health awareness and acceptance, because we have mentioned education, right? But the thing is, with the education, it does bleed into a change in mindset of women. And I think this is relevant, especially, I guess, in the older generations, where it was like a lot more conservative back then. Now it's like a lot more open, right? Not fully there yet. And the thing is, when we say like how we view ourselves, empowerment, it's such a vague concept, right? What is that? But the thing is, like the little facets of our lives, it does kind of make up how we view ourselves. It's not always direct, right? Like I don't, it's not necessarily like I view myself as dirty because I'm a menstruator. It's not always like in your face. But the thing is, the more that you're able to take ownership of your body, like if you know like how your body works, you have that ownership of your own body. Like using cups, right? Actually, even before I started Sinaya Cup, I did have apprehensions to start like the organization, because I thought to myself, oh, I'm gonna be like the menstruation vagina lady, because it is something that you put inside your vaginal canal. But so it's valid to feel like, oh, that's weird. That's weird. But the thing is, our body shouldn't be weird. It's just a body part that comes with ourselves. Like we were just born into it. But there's always like that shame aspect. And the thing is, we're not saying that the shame aspect, if you use cups, it'll go away, right? But it's one aspect of it. Like once you feel ownership of your body, that I'm gonna use this scenario. This is my body. I'm choosing how I want to manage my menstruation. That is a part of the empowerment experience, because you get to decide like what you want to try, and if you do try it, if it doesn't work, that's still you taking ownership of how you want to manage this thing that we're going to experience for about 40 years of our lives. And that's a long time. we have menstruations like 3 to 7 days typically in a month. That's around like 25% of our adult life before menopause. So it does affect our days. It does affect like so many aspects, not to say directly, but just taking ownership of just one aspect could make a very, very big difference. Like for Sinaya Cup, so we've been around for almost 8 years now. So we started really small and we're still growing. And to me, it feels really weird sometimes when I like meet a Sinaya Cup user and they say, "Oh, it changed my life." Like literally, you can check like maybe social media or even like maybe there's hashtags. A lot of people would say it changed my life, and that does sound like, you know, hyperbole.
Freeing kasi siguro sa kanila. You know?
Yeah, and the thing is, for me, it's just like one item. Like for me, we changed your life, really. But then again, changing one very, very big aspect of your experience is like life-changing, right? We're not gonna claim that you use Sinaya Cup, you're gonna be a millionaire or an athlete, right? And like, it takes care of one aspect. It changes the experience. And the thing is, like, 5 days a month, that's 5 days a month. If you can like improve the experience of 5 whole days, that is super life-changing for one woman, right? So, even though it does sound like, did we really change people's lives? We just listen to what they say. If they say that we did, we acknowledge that, and we hope that more women's lives are changed if it will change their life, right? So, yeah, I think that's like very, very empowering, and we're not going to say that we did it. We don't like make, yeah, we don't make women be empowered because we did it. We just gave women a tool and they empowered themselves. So that's really how we view ourselves. We're fostering that for hopefully all Filipinas.
Bigyan yung mga babae ng option. Ano ba iba na pwede gamitin bukod sa napkin. And just by simply having a choice that they can choose for themselves. Ayun. Parang syempre, na-widen din yun. Parang may body, may choice.
Tsaka,
My body, my choice.
Ayun yun, parang having the options na they need na para sa sarili din nila, like, makakatulong ngayon. Like, it plays a big role din sa to improve their lifestyle.
Yung simpleng comfort. Gano'n.
Kasi like sa amin guys, parang may privilege kami na hindi kami nakaka-experience ng ganyan compared sa inyo. Kaya
do you think school plays a role in this empowering and then pagiging open ng students sa pagtingin sa mga alternatives? Kasi usually ang tinuturo lang is napkin, and parang ayun nga, yun lang talaga yung naging talagang pinaka-choice ng students kasi yun lang din naman talaga yung tinuturo.
Yeah, like that's definitely one of the reasons why we started the capacity caravan, is because of that gap with education. And syempre naman, a lot of the alternatives, it only became popular in recent times. So, hindi naman natin pwede ding completely masisi na, okay, like for me, bakit hindi ito naturo nung kabataan ko? Because it wasn't around back then. But actually, if like the knowledge of menstrual cups could be taught in schools, like during puberty age, I think that would make a big difference. Kasi once a child has their belief systems na in place, it's usually very hard to undo when we're talking about the concept of body and shame around it. Once you've already had that practice into adulthood na, oh, this is a shameful thing, it's quite hard to to remove those things. So yes, ideally that's the dream, that menstrual hygiene, reproductive health has a very, very deep focus in our like early education.
Kasi right now, medyo censored pa din in a way. Parang hindi napapakita paano ba talaga kinakabit yung napkin, paano ginagamit yung menstrual cups, ano yung itsura talaga nung blood, pag parang sinasabi lang ng blood. So, ang daming nagkakamali when it comes to their first period. Kasi parang hindi niya na-expect nila. So, in a way, siguro nakaka-empower din kasi yung more knowledge, the more you know about your body. Talaga po nung sabi niya kanina na parang marami kayong tutunan with parang in a way, nakaka-help siya kasi natatanggal din yung stigma. Pati yung worries mo na, ganito pala yun, ito pala yun, gano'n. So, natatanggalan din ng parang bigat yung mga simple things in life.
Like, hindi lang din siya limited sa surface level knowledge. So like, I'm not sure like sa state ng curriculum yun kasi like before pag nasa elementary to high school ka, parang laging tinuturo lang about dyan is like scientifically ano ba yung effect like ayun, pero parang hindi siya masyadong nag-expand like sa other aspects din na nagsasurround sa topic na to. Yeah.
But that's also the opportunity.
Yes,
there, right?
Yes,
like,
yes.
We have these gaps, their problems, their issues. Syempre, we can't deny that they are there. But that's the opportunity and the call for all of us, all of the listeners, is there's something that we can contribute. And there's something that we can change. And that's very, very exciting to consider.
So, since we're talking about this, shout out or parang fun fact lang din sa mga listeners na right now, as we're shooting, it's May 27 and bukas, May 28 is Menstrual Hygiene Day. So, ayan. So, ano ba yung mga something na we should do or parang start doing, lalo na ngayon na parang bukas, Menstrual Hygiene Day. Ano ba yung mga hindi usually alam ng mga na parang hindi usually alam ng women, pero parang natatakal niyo po dun sa inyo capacity.
Okay, so happy Menstrual Hygiene Day to everyone. And the thing is, Menstrual Hygiene Day is monthly for women. And it's really good that we have these international celebrations to at least have a culmination or celebration of all the initiatives out there with regards to menstruation. But wala namang pressure. It's a monthly thing that we really should think about. And the thing about menstrual hygiene is it's really connected to reproductive health, because it's very hard to just discuss menstruation without linking it to our reproductive cycles. So I think we've already kind of like discussed that destigmatizing menstruation and like mga tagos and all that, it really starts with everyone, but organizationally it's really the time to encourage like schools, companies, organizations to have menstrual hygiene built into their systems to syempre support like students, their team members, and their like let's say employees. I think like very simple is for the bathrooms. Number one, how are the bathrooms in your institution, right? Does it support like menstrual needs? Because of course, syempre, CR, madaming needs. But like, let's say access to napkins or maybe even menstrual cups. Is there like a bidet or tabo, diba? Is it accessible? So, it really is a call to start viewing menstruation as not just a topic to discuss sometimes, but it's a call to consider, are we integrating all of these challenges? Are we meeting the needs of half the population when they have their menstruation? So, I guess my very, very simple call is first consider like your immediate company, your immediate school. Are the needs being met? And if you just start with that question, it could lead to like so many more initiatives, projects, even like suggestions, or even conversations.
Saka siguro aside from institutions, andyan din syempre yung media kasi kahit saan may media. Pero yun yung ano niya, parang yun yung power niya na at the same time parang yun yung strength and yun din yung parang nakasira din in a way sa image of menstruation. Kasi yung ibang commercials parang kapag ang advertisement nila is kapag nag-napkin ka, biglang alapasadan, kaya mo mag-sports, kaya mo mag-hike, kaya mo mag-ganyan. Pero parang minsan may mga women kasi na tulad nun may dysmenorrhea. So may times talaga na hindi lahat kaya. Pero parang ang in-advertise kasi na no one can stop you, parang ganon. Parang pag ginamit mo yung product namin, parang ganon. Pero tapos parang andyan din yung smell na parang dapat floral yung yung amoy, ganyan. Tapos parang okay, parang ganun. Pero yun din yung nakaka-harm sa private area ng girl na pag may mga scented ganun nilalagay doon. Siyempre parang, di ba? So, siguro in a way, media has a part to play din when it comes to parang alisin yung mga stigma, yung mga maling paniniwala when it comes to menstruation. Media
multimedia arts pa naman tayo.
Mga specialized sa So, yun. Kung may mga hikinig, mga
multimedia arts student
advertising,
dyan.
dyan. So, yun.
Yes, thank you for attending as our guest speaker today. So, Audrey.
Hopefully, may natutunan yung mga listeners natin. And eye-opening yung podcast namin. Sila na menstrual hygiene day tomorrow as we're shooting videos.
Anything you want to say or you want to plug? Promotional or ayun? You want to shout out?
Shout out. Of course, we are very, very grateful that you're helping us with our mission to spread the education about sustainable menstruation and of course the Sinaya Cup as a brand. So plug ko na lang din, our brand is Sinaya Cup. You can learn more about us through our website, that's www.sinayacup.com, and it's Sinaya Cup on TikTok, we're also on Shopee, Lazada, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, basically most social media, so you can just message us. We have your very friendly customer support specialists who will answer any of your questions. And if you would like to know more about how to use cups, or you would like to invite our team to maybe discuss cups and all the other topics that we've talked about today with your own organizations, your own schools, your companies, or even your small teams, please feel free to reach out to us through all of our social media pages, or you can also email us at info@sinayacup.com. So we hope to hear from you again, and all of you, even the listeners, and we'll make sure that we answer all of your concerns thoroughly.
So, ayan, since follow nyo and hopefully pinalo nyo yung social media ni Sinaya, sa amin din, sana i-follow nyo rin kami sa Facebook. So, ayun.
Dito ba?
I'm Janelle Velasquez, your host for today.
I'm Reizar Costan.
And I'm Audrey Tangonan from Sinaya Cup.
Again, this is Tundukan Natin, Tagos sa Puso, featuring Sinaya Cup.
So let's meet again on our next episode. Ito na yung last and hopefully you'll